Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Today we have some very important breaking news out of the state of Michigan where Democratic candidate Pete Buttigieg is reportedly not going to be running for Senate or governor in 2026, possibly eyeing the 2028 presidential race. This story is breaking as I'm recording this video, so I'm going to read this article by Politico and break down all the information we currently know. Pete Buttigieg is expected to announce on Thursday he will not run for Michigan's open Senate seat, according to a person briefed on his decision, clearing a path for a potential presidential campaign instead. His decision was framed by several allies and people in his inner circle as putting him in the strongest possible position to seek the presidency, and based on a belief it would be extremely difficult to run successive campaigns in 2026 and 2028. The former transportation secretary acknowledged recently he had been looking at a Senate campaign, including meeting with Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer to discuss the possibility. Democrats are scrambling to hold on to the seat being vacated by retiring Senator Gary Peters in a crucial swing state. Republicans see it as a top pickup opportunity after coming close to flipping the state's other Senate seat last cycle, where the Republican lost by 0.3%. Buttigieg, who ran for the president in 2020, moved to Traverse City, Michigan with his young family after 4 years of working in former President Joe Biden's cabinet. The workload of cabinet-related travel and the prospect of starting a campaign soon after weighed in his calculus, people close to him said. Before opting out of a Senate run, Buttigieg also ruled out a Michigan governor run as well. Polling indicated that had he run, he would have started in a dominant position in the Democratic primary. The hardest decision in politics is to pass on a race you have a very good chance to win, said David Axelrod, the longtime Democratic operative who helped lead Barack Obama's presidential campaigns and a mentor to Buttigieg who spoke with him Wednesday. Pete was an A-list recruit and it would have been a formidable candidate for the Senate had he chosen to run. But had he won in 26, it would almost certainly have taken him out of the conversation for 28. This certainly keeps that option open. Beyond that, I have a sense that he wanted to spend more time with his family and with people in communities like his, where the conversations and concerns are so different than the ones we hear in the echo chamber of Washington. Buttigieg's decision reshapes the Senate primary for a seat Democrats are desperate to hold after President Trump won Michigan in November. State Senator Mallory McMorrow told fellow Michigan Democrats she will run for the seat, and Representative Haley Stevens has taken steps towards a run, including hiring staff. He wanted to decide quickly enough to give other folks a chance to mobilize if they wanted to run, said Senator Brian Schatz, a Democrat of Hawaii, who talked with Buttigieg several times as he made up his mind. He handled it responsibly. He's a rising star in the Democratic Party. Now Buttigieg is eyeing another presidential run in 2028, a contest that sees him polling behind only his party's most recent standard-bearer, former Vice President Kamala Harris, who is weighing a potential gubernatorial bid in California. He has also maintained a robust fundraising network in the party, having raised more than $15 million for the Harris-Walz campaign last year. If he runs for president, Buttigieg could be hampered by his involvement in an unpopular Biden administration, but there are other factors in the post-2024 landscape that could favor him. At a time when the Democratic Party is searching for new ways and places to reach voters, Buttigieg has long made those efforts central to his political project. As he considers a run, he started to become more visible in recent days, something a person familiar with the strategy said will continue. In the last week alone, he joined The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, hosted by a Blue Sky Ask Me Anything and an Instagram chat with Paul Rakoff, an independent veteran advocate and host of the weekly news show. The two talked about Elon Musk, the Department of Government Efficiencies cuts to the Department of Veteran Affairs. We need you more than ever, Rakoff, who spoke with Buttigieg about running for president, told Buttigieg. That's the report by Politico. This is very, very interesting now for two reasons. First, I'll start with Buttigieg himself. This, I think, almost certainly signals to me Buttigieg is going to run for president in 2028. And I'll just refresh the page now to make sure I have the most updated polls. In the early polls for 2028 right now, obviously it's a long way away, but Kamala Harris has been the steady favorite in all these polls, as to be expected. If you're a returning viewer of mine, you know I've mentioned this a few times. But if you're a new viewer, first of all, welcome. Thank you for watching. But I've said many times, Kamala Harris right now is leading in the Democratic primary because usually the candidate that's at the top of the ticket, once they lose the general election for president, the early polls for the next election, they're almost always ahead. If you remember the 2016 election, right after the 2012 election, Mitt Romney was leading many of the Republican primary polls. That is because he was just on top of the ticket in every single state in the United States. Of all the Republican primary candidates, Romney was the one most people have heard of. Kamala Harris is feeling a very similar bump. She's on top of all the political polls right now for the 2028 primary because she is the candidate that everyone has heard from. So it's no surprise Harris is leading, but she does not have an insurmountable lead. In most polls, she's polling around the mid-30s with over 20% undecided and a lot more support split up among the other trailing candidates. What's been pretty consistent, in addition to Harris being in first, is Pete Buttigieg has been polling in second place. Survey USA had Buttigieg around 11%, 8% in McLaughlin Associates. Echelon had him at 10. McLaughlin again had him at 9. McLaughlin had him at 12. Buttigieg has been consistently so far polling in number 2 behind Kamala Harris. So right now, if you're looking at it in a very early 2028 Democratic primary, Pete Buttigieg, at least right now, offers the most significant competition to Kamala Harris. Now, obviously, things are going to change over the next 3 years or so as the primary ramps up, but it is worth noting Buttigieg has consistently polled in the number 2 slot behind the former VP. As for how this impacts the 2026 Senate race, as the article mentioned, Buttigieg is officially not running. Now we look at the candidates on the Democratic side who could be running. Mallory McMorrow, a state senator from the 8th District, has an announcement pending. I believe this is going to be she is going to likely run for this race. Publicly expressed interest includes Sarah Anthony, a state senator, Abdul El Sayed, the Wayne County Health Director and candidate for governor in 2018, has expressed interest. Dana Nessel, the Michigan Attorney General, has expressed interest in running. We also have Haley Stevens, U.S. Representative for Michigan's 11th Congressional District. Her decision is expected to be in April 2025. There are also some other potential candidates as well. Kristen McDonald-Rivette, Hillary Schulten, Rashida Tlaib, and Matt Sayre are listed as potential. So it's in all likelihood one of these either potential candidates or publicly expressed interest or announcement pending are going to run and probably win the Democratic primary. Though now the race is completely wide open that Buttigieg is not running. He was the leader in the early Democratic primary polls, as the article mentioned. So now it's completely wide open, and we're going to have to wait and see how this develops. On the Republican side, things pretty much remain unchanged. Mike Rogers, right now, the former Republican nominee in 2024 for US Senate, is still the leading candidate. His announcement is pending. Tudor Dixon and Kevin Rinke have both expressed interest in running for the race, and there are a lot of potential candidates. But right now, Mike Rogers is the odds-on favorite to win the Republican primary. As for how the race is going to go, it's still listed by the Cook Political Report, Inside Elections, and Sabado's Crystal Ball as a toss-up. I don't think Buttigieg backing out of this race really changes things all that much, to be honest. It is still a battleground in my rankings. Buttigieg had one poll with him up 2, one poll had Rogers up 6, and Haley Stevens did one where Rogers was up 6 with a lot of undecided and third-party vote. As for how this race goes in 2026, Michigan's one of the 5 Senate races I see as being in the toss-up category right now. I still think the Democrats start out as a narrow favorite in Michigan, kind of borderline between being lean Democrat and tilt Democrat. What that means is borderline between being a 1% margin of victory or slightly more than 1%. I have it right now around like 1.5 points, so a lean Democratic win for the Democrats right now. But this is certainly a big opening for their Democrats and Republicans to win the Senate seat, and it's going to be interesting to see how it unfolds. But Buttigieg not running does provide some clarity that one of the Democratic candidates is likely going to be either a current U.S. representative in Congress or a state senator or state rep from the state of Michigan on the Democratic side. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But for now, the big news of today, Pete Buttigieg will not be running for Senate in Michigan in 2026. In all likelihood, will be announcing a 2028 presidential run in the next few years or so. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a like. Please remember to click subscribe. Leave a comment below telling me your thoughts about this video, what you think of this news. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you again in a future video.